Okay, what's up, everybody? I wanted to just give another collection update as a result of getting this guy, the Hot Toys Pattinson Batman with the Bat Signal and the Bat Cycle. And I'll probably do a separate video just doing not an in-depth review as far as getting all the accessories out and doing a bunch of different posing and all that kind of stuff, because that's already been done by other bigger channels that have broken it down pretty thoroughly. But I think for me, I'll just go over the basics of it and give my basic thoughts on it, and talk a little bit about just those of you who may still be deciding whether to get this version or the in-art version, and kind of what the pros and cons are there. Maybe give some of my thoughts on the aftermarket as well, or what may happen on the aftermarket. But I don't really see the point of doing an in-depth review, because I only received this figure back just probably in late March, and been busy with school and that kind of thing, so I've not had time to do any videos. But even by that time, those who had ordered theirs from overseas outside the United States already had theirs in hand, and I had time to do reviews. So there have been reviews of this guy up for many months. But it really is an incredible figure, and so I do look forward to going over it in a little bit more detail. But I'm just doing a follow-up collection update for this video because, as you can see, all this stuff took up more room than I had anticipated. So I was thinking about, I'd originally had the Joaquin Joker and Arthur Fleck. I had those two figures over here on this side, and I was going to have Battinson and all his stuff over on this side. And while I was pretty spot on as far as how big I thought the bike was going to be and how much room it would take up, I still was wrong about the Bat Signal and just how massive this thing is. And so just the Batman 22 setup on this bottom shelf takes up the whole shelf. So I did want to give this bottom shelf to this particular film, and put that in the Batman case, and I think all that together looks pretty awesome. And so I took the Joaquin Phoenix Joker out of this cabinet and we started to move it over to this cabinet over here in this corner, but it just didn't look right. It didn't really look right across from Empire, Vader, and Luke. And so sometimes in collecting, we have difficult decisions we have to make. I've talked about that in previous videos. Those of you who have collected for a while know this. And so when we're trying to collect these things, but keep some boundaries in place so that we're not just buying anything and everything constantly all the time, just getting out of control, it's good to have clear boundaries. Like, here are my favorite films, these are my favorite characters, and here's what fits and does not fit in the collection. And so the Joaquin Joker figure and Arthur Fleck, those two didn't really fit anywhere. They didn't even really fit in the Batman case too much, because that's a case mainly for Batman. And the Joaquin Joker movie, even though I love it, was not really a Batman movie per se. I mean, it's in a Gotham City universe, but it's in one where Batman doesn't even exist yet. Bruce Wayne is still about 6 years old, and it's just so different and so elseworlds that it just never really doesn't really feel that much like a Batman movie to me, even though I do really like the film. So I think the Batman 22 setup on the bottom shelf, I think that's the place for that. And so as far as over here, again, the Joaquin Joker setup didn't really look right over here, because I was looking at it, it's like, okay, I have the Godfather on the top shelf, and then the entire middle shelf is all going to be Rocky stuff. And so why not just go ahead and make the bottom shelf all Star Wars? I mean, I've talked in previous videos about how I used to have a massive Star Wars collection and kind of got burnt out on Star Wars, decided to get out of collecting Star Wars for the most part, but still love the original trilogy. And I'm kind of to the point now where I still love the original trilogy, but would rather just pretend like none of the other stuff ever happened. the the prequels, the sequels. I mean, it's all the TV shows. But with collecting Star Wars, here's the thing. I mean, collecting this kind of stuff is addictive, but collecting Star Wars, there's something about Star Wars that makes it especially addictive. So I thought, okay, if I'm going to bring any Star Wars back in the collection at all, I need to be careful and not let things get too out of control. But of course, having these cabinets kind of helps me, because if it won't fit in the cabinet and it won't fit in any of these like one-off cases that I have down here, then it's like, okay, well, it can't really stay. So there's really no room for that Joker to stay. But I wanted something to go in this corner that would kind of go with everything else. And so I decided just to make this a Star Wars shelf, particularly with Vader and Luke. I figured I'll just keep the Vader and Luke theme going. So this is the setup I've had all along for Empire Strikes Back. But then here, I decided to pre-order the Return of the Jedi Vader from Hot Toys. And since that won't be out until God knows when, might as well get another Empire Strikes Back Vader and just use that as a placeholder. And I think it does that very, very well. And I also decided to get Return of the Jedi Luke to go with Vader. Because if you're going to have Return of the Jedi Vader, you might as well have Luke. I'm not a huge Luke fan in general, but Vader is one of my, it's not just my favorite Star Wars character, but it's one of my favorite characters in all of fiction. So I thought it'd be good to kind of keep the Vader theme going. But part of what makes Star Wars great, really the central heart of it, is the relationship between Vader and Luke and the Skywalker saga, and this ultimate conflict between the dark and the light sides of the Force, and that kind of thing. And so I do like Luke in Return of the Jedi, though, especially. Luke is a character that evolves from one film to the next, and I really like how he is in Return of the Jedi. So he's gotten powerful, he's cocky, he's confident, and so he's not completely just jaded like he is in the sequel trilogy, which again I like to just pretend never existed at this point. So I think this goes here pretty well. I think this looks pretty awesome. I didn't want to just duplicate the lightsaber battle that's going on over here. I thought I would do something a little bit different, but I still wanted to include the green lightsaber, because the green lightsaber is just such a big part of what Return of the Jedi is. I think when most of us think of Return of the Jedi, the first image that comes to mind, I think for a lot of us, is that green lightsaber. So I thought, why not just duplicate that scene to where Luke turns himself in, he and Vader are kind of trying to convert each other, and then Vader ignites Luke's green lightsaber and is standing there admiring it. And so that thought that'd be a good one to duplicate. Now, when the actual Return of the Jedi Vader comes out, I would like to. I mean, I think a lot of us are going to want to take the mask off and show that Sebastian Shaw head sculpt. So I might just have him standing there holding his mask in his hand, or even though it's not really realistic to the movie, or I could have him laying down on the ground and having Luke kind of standing over him. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not, but I think in the meantime this works pretty dang well. And so that's a big collection update as far as that goes. I did decide, but as a result of all this, I cannot keep the Clint Eastwood figure. So there's the Clint Eastwood figures down there, those bottom four. And the Pale Rider Preacher figure is already on eBay. And Dirty Harry, I'm still thinking about keeping this because I love Dirty Harry. I don't know where I would put him. I don't have anywhere to put him, but I still don't really want to sell that figure. The Will Money figure from Unforgiven, I want to keep that as well. But once again, I don't know where it would go. But I still want to keep it. I may end up selling those too. I'm not sure, but especially Pale Rider, Josie Wells, and Man with No Name, those will all end up getting sold here at some point. And I didn't buy those figures with the intention of reselling them, but you guys who have collected for any period of time know how that goes. It's we have to make tough decisions all the time. So I want my collection to kind of all come together and make sense and reflect what my favorite things are just in the world of movies. And so I think having Batman over there, and then here having my other three favorite franchises in Godfather, Rocky, and then original trilogy Star Wars, I think is just a It's a pretty clean, less sloppy, kind of more professional looking, just more consistent way to go. But again, like I said with Star Wars, it does and can get addicting. So I've said on previous videos here to collect intentionally and not impulsively. Well, I kind of flunked that. So this was a couple weeks ago when I bought this Vader and this Luke, but also uh, I also pre-ordered Return of the Jedi Han Solo, and that's only because I got him off Alter Ego. I had $100 of reward points. I thought I want to use that on something. I did not. The Return of the Jedi Vader, they were already pre-sold out, so I had to pre-order that Vader elsewhere. I think I got it from Time Walker Toys, which I would recommend, by the way. They are pretty good. But Alter Ego was already out of Vader, so I'm like, well, I love Han Solo. He's my favorite good guy in all of Star Wars. I'll get that. I'll get that Han, and then when it shows up, I'll either sell it. I mean, I could just sell it for retail and still make money on it because I'm getting it for $100 below its retail. So that might be the way that I go, or I could just take that indoor coat off of him because I mean this is just regular Luke. This is not indoor Luke, so those two wouldn't go together that way. But if I take the coat off of him and just display him just in his regular clothing and put him and Luke together, those two would go together, and then maybe have Vader in the background or something. I don't know. I'm not even really worried about that too much yet because those figures won't come out till probably late next year, maybe even early 2026 as far as hitting stateside. Um, so right now I'm just happy with this, but so I don't think the Han Solo was an impulse. I think that was a good decision just given the discount that I got. But what was an impulse were these guys. Stormtrooper Commander. I bought two of these from Sideshow during their May 4th sale. And of course, I didn't get them because I like Mandalorian or anything like that. I got those because you can take the pauldron off of them and just make regular stormtroopers out of them. So I thought it'd be a great idea to display two stormtroopers here in the background behind Vader and Luke, because when Luke turns himself in, there are a couple of stormtroopers kind of hanging out. And so I thought, why not? And so I got both of those, and the two of them together were $350 after taxes and shipping. And then on top of that, they threw in a free Grogu set, 1/6 scale Grogu set. So I thought, well, that's free, so I can just sell that, and then whatever I make on that, which I knew wouldn't be much, but I could deduct that from the two troopers and make an even better deal out of that. So sometimes just getting sucked into good deals like that is always tempting for me, and that was just an impulse buy. So I did get those troopers out, and I stood them up in here behind Vader and Luke, and they looked pretty good. But at the same time, it made things look kind of cluttered as well. So it's like I got two figures over here, but then I got four over here. It's kind of like, I don't know if that. I think I got carried away, and I had to just admit that that was probably a mistake. That was an impulse buy. But thankfully, those Stormtrooper Commander squadron leaders, I mean, these guys set in stock on Sideshow for about 3 years. But during this sale, I guess other people had the same idea that I did, and so as soon as I got mine, I mean, they were sold out by the next day, and so they've been gradually climbing on eBay. So selling those should not be too difficult, and I think I can probably do that without really taking a loss, just given what good of a deal they were. So that's my collection update in a nutshell. And again, I didn't think I'd go back this deep into Star Wars. But again, this isn't really too deep. I wanted to keep it Vader centric. Now, if they ever did re-release the Return of the Jedi Emperor Palpatine, which I don't know if they will, they did just announce the prequel Emperor, so they'll probably just let that be for a while, and maybe several years before we see another original trilogy Emperor. But if they were to put him up for pre-order, I would definitely get that. And then when that arrives, I would just ditch Luke and make this a Vader and Emperor setup. I would actually rather do that. I had the original Vader or Emperor and Throne combo from Hot Toys. Bought it brand new, had it for several years, and then when I sold it, I got it, I think, for something ridiculous, like $800 or something. And this was a $300 and something set that for a long time went for less than that on eBay because it was just nobody really wanted it. It was overproduced or something. But then when it finally did sell out everywhere, demand gradually went up and up and up and up. So I'm not going to try to get that set back. But if they did do another Palpatine from the original trilogy, I would probably just get rid of Luke and bring that in. But I was surprised at how good of a deal I was able to get on this Luke. So this is the very first Return of the Jedi Luke that they did from 2017, and he retailed back then for $230, and I got this guy for $200, and then after tax and shipping it was like $225. So I got him for a pretty good deal. And looking at other sold listings on eBay, there have been several other folks that have got him for about that same amount as well. So this used to be a very high demand and very popular figure. I bought it brand new back in the day and then sold it at some point along the way and had picked up the deluxe version. But I like this better than the deluxe version because the deluxe has the two head sculpts with it. One has that goofy open mouth expression, and the other is where he's kind of looking off to the side. So I actually bought for that one. I had bought this head sculpt separately, just to have a head sculpt that's looking forward, and I put that on it. And I also bought the cloak and binders that come with this figure to go with the deluxe version. So all the deluxe came with a lot of stuff, but it didn't come with the main things that I wanted. That all came from this figure. So anyway, I'm glad to have this one back. I took the fat suit off of him, and so because the deluxe version did not have the fat suit, and so back when I owned this figure the first time, I never really noticed it, but getting it now after having had the deluxe a couple years ago, uh, knowing just seeing the fat suit on him, I just couldn't unsee it. So I got that off of him, and I think that looks a lot better. But Hot Toys has done so many Return of the Jedi Lukes, or from that era now with the new Mandalorian version, that now it's becoming a little bit easier to get. So like I said, I was actually surprised I was able to get this guy for below retail. And then this Empire Strikes Back Vader, because Hot Toys has done so many Vaders, this Empire Strikes Back version has gone to the bottom of the pile along with the New Hope version. You can get those really cheap compared to what they retailed for. I got this Vader for $175. Now this is a figure that retailed for $267 just 3-4 years ago whenever it came out. I guess it would have been about 2020-ish. That was the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back. And it's a fantastic figure. I mean, there's not really any flaws with it that I'm aware of. It was extremely well done. It's been very highly sought after in previous years, but now with all these other Vaders that are out, I mean, this Vader from Kenobi is the one that's in such high demand, and then that Return of the Jedi Vader is pre-sold out just about everywhere too. And so that causes really well done figures from the past to be overlooked. And so those of you who are wanting a Vader, go for it. I mean, I've not seen any others go quite as cheap as I got this guy for. Again, it was $175 before tax and shipping and about $200 after tax and shipping. And it was used, but it was in really good shape. I mean, nothing at all wrong with it whatsoever. So it got a really good deal on both of these. And so it's actually not a bad time to be a Hot Toys Star Wars collector if you're just now jumping in. I mean, a couple of years ago, you couldn't hardly get anything Hot Toys Star Wars related without paying a premium, double what it retailed for. But especially on original trilogy stuff. But now you're getting more options because they make so many Lukes and so many Vaders. Just like with Batman. I mean, how many Christian Bale Batman are we going to get? How many Heath Ledger Jokers are we going to get? The more of those come out, the easier it is for new collectors to just kind of take their pick in the aftermarket. So that's good from that perspective. So I think the setup looks really good. Let me know what y'all think. And you kind of see the domino effect that getting that Robert Pattinson Batman has had. I mean, in this, as you can see, I mean, this thing looks just flipping amazing. So let me know in the comments section, have you guys ever had one figure come in your collection? You think you have your collection right where you want it. You don't plan on making any changes, and then one figure shows up, and then that just causes you to start getting more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. And then now I bought this, so I got to sell that, and just causes a complete upheaval in your collection. Have any of you ever experienced anything like that? Let me know in the comments section, because this has happened to me many, many times over the years. But I think now I really do have my collection where I want it, because since getting these cabinets, I knew right where I wanted everything to go except for that corner right there. Nothing ever quite fit. I mean, I had Eastwood there. I had Back to the Future, Doc and Marty there. I've had, I had the Walking Joker there for a couple of days and just didn't look right. Nothing ever really looked right. So having this whole shelf be sort of, Star Wars, original trilogy, specifically Vader and Luke themed, seems to work a lot better. And really loving this pose. I mean, it's simple, but I think it communicates, that scene pretty well. And then have you all ever bought anything on impulse just because it was a good deal and you thought you might want it for your collection and you were afraid you were going to miss out? So then you bought a bunch of stuff and it's like, oh, well, actually, I don't really want this as much as I thought I did after all. But I don't know. I've not listed these troopers yet. I mean, I'm almost tempted to dig them back out and set them back up, and just get another look. Maybe I can kind of spread things out to where it doesn't look quite as cluttered. But I think this looks pretty good as it is. But I would like to sell those troopers. I just don't really want to take a loss on them. And thankfully, number one, I got a really good deal, and number two, they sold out right after I bought these. And so now they're in a little bit higher demand. They were going for about in the 140 range on eBay, and now they're typically going right around the 180 range. And so I noticed as soon as they sold out, I went back and looked on eBay, and the demand for these started picking up pretty quick. So that's my collection update. And especially when you're limited on room and space, you really got to figure out your priorities and what you want to bring into the collection, and then what you have to let go. I mean, how many reviews did I do on Clint Eastwood figures, and now I'm selling most, if not all of them. It kind of sucks, but it is what it is. This is not a hobby that I don't want to dedicate a whole lot of time and money and space into it at this point. I just want to keep it fairly small and modest and just limited to my absolute favorite things. And so just difficult decisions have to be made. So let me know that in the comment section too. If you guys ever had to make any tough decisions, okay, I want this and I want that, but I can't have both just due to space or finances or whatever it might be. So if you had to let something go, that you kind of like, but you just didn't have space for it, let me know that as well. I'm waiting for these Rocky figures to show up. 2 from Star Ace and then 1 from Sly Stallone shop. Maybe eventually 2 from Sly Stallone shop, but the Lone Shark Rocky should be out in June, like early next month, according to Sly Stallone shop. I mean, they've kept pushing it back, so it better be good after all these delays. That's all I got to say. And then the Star Ace, Rocky, and Apollo. Apollo is out, but I had mine shipped. I had mine set up with bundle shipping, so I can't really get Apollo until Rocky arrives, which that's fine. I'd rather have them both together anyway. But from what I've seen of that Apollo, it looks pretty good. So yeah, this video is kind of all over the place. Again, just a general collection update, and I started out with Battinson and somehow wound up with Luke and Vader from Return of the Jedi with a bunch of stormtroopers I didn't know I'd be getting, and now am probably selling. And now Clint Eastwood and Joaquin Phoenix and all those are finding themselves on the chopping block. So thus is the life of a collector. So thank you guys for watching. Feel free to like, share, comment, whatever, and I will probably do a quick video on Battinson here pretty soon. I'll show that off a little bit more and share my thoughts on that. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.